Hello again, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Coming Together. Delighted to have you here as we all come together with something very special today. I think you're going to very much enjoy this. First of all, my cohort, my what do we call our podcast co-host?
Yes.
Does that sound official?
I think
So whether
so.
you're watching or listening, it matters not. We're delighted to welcome you. Thank you so much for being here. And we have a gentleman by the name of Dr. Paul Zak. He's a neuroscientist, and he's here to share some incredible information with us today. But he's out west. We're here in Dallas, Texas. He's out west, and we're delighted to welcome the good doctor. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hello, Scott. Great to see you. Hi, Kathy.
Hello, Paul. It's good to have you.
And your location exactly is where?
I'm currently in Austin, Texas,
Okay.
at a conference and jumped out to talk to you fine people
Okay. And you reside where?
in San Diego.
San Diego. Okay. So California to the great state of Texas and then back there. But in the meantime, welcome to our state capital in Austin.
That's right. We're neighbors. We're right here in Dallas, so we're right close by.
Well, I tell you what, Kathy had nothing but wonderful things to say about all the incredible information that she has had you share with her over the years about, what you're involved with. And when you talk about neuroscientists, why don't you just give us a definition as to what a neuroscientist is and what it does and why you got involved in that particular aspect of medicine?
Well, I am fascinated by the humans. They're a very interesting species. You may have seen them. They have some odd behaviors.
Occasionally.
And, my early work really focused on why people engage in good behaviors. The bad behavior gets all the press, but by and large, people get along. They're friendly. They help each other. Excuse me. They're altruistic. So why is that? And by understanding the brain basis for these pro-social behaviors, it helps us to understand how to promote them, but also what inhibits them. So, for example, I've done work with psychiatric patients and criminal psychopaths to understand where that pathology comes from. And the short answer is a lot of this has to do with the very unique neuroanatomy that humans have that allow us to understand not only people's cognitive states, why Kathy might do something, but also their emotional states. So we're acutely aware of the emotional experiences of others as long as we pay attention to that. This is unconsciously, of course. And so that drives us to, in general, treat each other quite well. And that moves us right into looking at things like emotional health.
Interesting.
Absolutely. It's emotional health is very important in corporate culture in our daily lives. Would love to talk to you about what you think is important in our journey to reach that state of emotional health.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're exactly right about how important this is. So if we look at kind of two key data points in the US and most of the developed world, we have below replacement fertility rates, so we're not making a lot more humans. And in the US in particular, and in many other countries, we have record low unemployment rates. So from an organizational design perspective, we're running out of humans. So that means that individuals who are working, who are productive, are extraordinarily valuable because they're creating value for their organizations, not to mention their families and their friends. So when we really look at the brain basis for thriving, it has 5 primary components. The first of 3 you know very well: diet, exercise, sleep, having a rich social network, and having a sense of purpose and acting on it. So let's talk about those a little bit, and we'll talk about the technology we've created around that. So diet, exercise, sleep, those are essential. We know that eating a healthy diet helps maintain good weight, good energy levels. Sleep is essential, particularly for brain health. As many people know now, during sleep, a lot of the toxins that build up in the brain are washed out. And so we really need to try to get 7 or 8 hours sleep a night if we can, whenever possible. Exercise is very important, as we all know, but the more energy you put into exercise, the more energy returns. It's the same thing for emotional health. We've got to invest in emotional fitness to build up our resilience so that we are emotionally stronger. And so that 4th component, having a rich social network, is a nice idea, but it's not actionable unless we have a way to measure and improve the quality of social connections. So based on the research I discussed earlier, in the last several years, my lab identified how much social emotional interaction people need to thrive, to really be engaged in the world, right? And we have an app, a free app called Six. It's on the screen. Anyone can scan that QR code and get it for free, that quantifies second by second the value your brain gets from your social emotional life. And we've shown you need 6 well-defined high value moments where your brain is really investing the resources, the metabolic resources, to be fully present and emotionally open. And it turns out that people who are able to be present for their friends, family, colleagues, and who are emotionally open, who are able to share their emotional states, are people that we want to be around. So there's this positive feedback loop between building up our emotional fitness and improving our social emotional connections. And then let me just hit the 5th one real quick, and then I'll stop talking and you guys can poke me some other way. Having a sense of purpose is also important. So when we look at working individuals, we really think about sort of 3 aspects in which it's important for people to thrive. One is, am I satisfied at work? So I think one of the great things about Americans is that we work a lot, and work is service, right? We're only getting paid because we serve other people's needs. And for people who love their jobs, which is many people, we get a lot of satisfaction from that. So it's important to have a job, to have that satisfaction. The second is our investment in our families, right? That's also very important. If our family life is suffering, our work life will suffer and will not be able to thrive. And the third is having an avocation, having a sense of purpose, or having a spiritual life. I think all those overlap with each other. And besides work and family, if people have something that they invest in that gives them energy, makes them feel like they're valuable on the planet, that's a very important part of thriving. So you can't just kind of be a robot, show up at work, show up at home, never stop. Sometimes we have to do that when we're young, when we're building a career, but it's really important to have a life outside of work and family so that you have a sense of fulfillment, a sense of meaning. So just to summarize, diet, exercise, sleep, having a rich social network, and that means getting 6 or more high-value social emotional interactions per day, and then having a sense of purpose. So we can go anywhere you want after that.
That's fascinating. And of course, we've been using your app in our veteran community, and we just started, so we're looking forward to noticing all the high value moments throughout the day, because when you start to become aware of what gives rise to that feeling of vitality and thrival in yourself, then okay, I need to do more of this, and I need to incorporate spending more time with these people and doing these types of activities. So it's brilliant. I love the app. So can you tell us a little bit about how people would use the app? So we need any smart watch, is that correct?
Yeah, any smartwatch or fitness wearable or a ring, we're really device agnostic. So we take physiologic signals from the cranial nerves that capture the brain's communication from this valuation network. How valuable is this experience? How many metabolic resources should I invest in that experience? And then capture that signal from very subtle variations in the peripheral neurologic system. That's all done in the cloud with some fancy math. So it runs at 1 second frequency in the background, no weird questions. It's just capturing what you individually are investing in that's most important to you. Mm-hmm. So if whenever I see Scott, we have so much fun together, then the app tells me, hey, when you hang out with Scott, these are really high value moments. He's a great guy. That's a way to build up your emotional fitness. You should hang around those friends who are most valuable. Build up, again, that quality social relationships. So it automatically links to your calendar and your location. So I might say, hey, every time I take a walk in the botanical gardens, I get a high value moment, right? So it doesn't always have to be social, but it's got to be emotional or social. So essentially you are training your brain to do those 2 things that make us very attractive and allow us to thrive, to be present and to be emotionally open. And that's the core components in the brain that create value. And then the app learns about you. So again, maybe walking the botanical gardens after a while is not so valuable to me because I've memorized the whole place. And then the app will start to suggest, using a trained AI assistant, hey, you like the botanical gardens, take a walk along the lake as a change of pace, right? Because again, it's knowing where you are and what you're doing. And by the way, data is completely private. There's no health data collected. It's just this single measure, second by second, of the value you're getting from these experiences. So it doesn't bother you. You just get a report at the end of the day and say, oh, okay, here's some things I can do. I can choose to do. Hang out with my friend Scott, hang out with my friend Kathy, go to happy hour, play basketball, whatever those things are that keep me connected to my community. And so we know that individuals who are depressed or anxious or have PTSD, they tend to lose community. So as you know, Kathy, one of the things we built into this was a social component.
Yes.
So I can share the number of key moments. Again, my goal is 6 per day or more to really thrive. I can share how many key moments I'm having with my dear friends. And they can just see, hey, oh, Paul only had one key moment. So the app lets you send them an emoji, a thumbs up. Or for us who have gray hair, God forbid, you could call them up. Hey, Bob, you shared your data with me. You only had one key moment. What's going on, man? It's like, I had a tough day. Okay, great. Let's go grab a coffee. Let's talk about it. So it allows us to really be on this emotional fitness journey together with our friends and family. And by having the work you do, Kathy, with veterans who are already used to being in teams, this is a perfect application of the 6 app where you can take these veterans who are going through your program, and you should tell people more about what you're doing, which is amazing, and they can support each other as they work on building up their emotional fitness.
Yeah, I've heard stories of people getting surprised of I didn't know this was a high value moment for me. So it's just the self-realization and awareness that this is really good for me. I think we focus so much on what brings us stress and anxiety because that's what's everybody talks about, anxiety and stress, and it's so important to stop and be present to the moments that bring us joy, bring us connectedness, bring us a sense of being in a community, for example, and all the good things that go along with that. So I love your app. I love the whole thought processes behind it and the possibilities that it has for the community we're building. So thank you for sharing that with us, and I hope more people take advantage of it because it really could add value to their lives.
And it's free, right? So again, there's a premium version that has more features, but I don't even care. Just use the app for free and learn about yourself. And you made such a good neuroscience point, Kathy, if I can reinforce that. Stress is not bad, full stop. Chronic stress is bad. If you can't stop thinking about something, you're not sleeping, that's not good. But for most of us, the stressful experiences resolve on their own. And what the science shows is that we need challenges.
Yes.
So if stress were bad for you, you would never go to the gym. That's physiologically stressful to run the treadmill or lift weights. Why do you do that? Because it builds up your physical fitness. The same thing happens with emotional fitness. You need to stretch. You need to do new things. You need to try new activities. And that's the way you build up this resilience so that you have this deep sense of connection. You've trained your brain to be present and emotionally open. And then when you are stressed, you have all those resources. You have high level of emotional fitness, so you're resilient, but you also have those social resources. So I can call up my friend Scott and go, hey, buddy, I really need some help today, right? And if you've built a strong emotional connection, you can do that. So I call these 3 a.m. friends. People who are thriving have 2 or 3, or what I call 3 a.m. friends. You can call 3 a.m. and go, I'm having a crisis. You got to come to my house now. And if you have a couple of those in your life, you're really in good shape, right? So how do you make that happen? Well, you have to invest in those relationships. So as you know, Kathy, I published a book a couple of months ago called The Little Book of Happiness, A Scientific Approach to Living Better, which essentially is a playbook that runs about 9 months that takes the investments in relationships, we call these the virtues, goes through the science of them and gives you 3 activities for each of the 45 cardinal virtues. So you practice being a better human, being a better connector, a better friend, a better spouse, a better colleague. And you use the 6 app concurrent with it, and you'll see the progress you're making towards improving your emotional fitness and giving you the neurologic capability to truly thrive.
Beautiful.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, no question about it. How about you? You've shared some incredible stuff with us just in a very short period of time. So I wonder, Paul, if you were to share with us what it is that you cherish most about what you get a chance to do every single day. I just was curious. I mean, all that you've just shared, my degree's in psychology, so I've been fascinated with everything you've shared, but I just wondered what it is that you when you go home at night, put your head on that pillow and, thank the good Lord for a great day out here doing whatever you did, making a difference in the lives of different people. But what really is 1 or 2 things that you just cherish about your job and say, this is the right thing that I'm doing every single day?
Yeah, I'm so lucky to have the job I have. So I want to thank Claremont Graduate University that's employed me for the last 30 years and lets me run a big lab there. I think a couple things. Thank you for that great question. One is I get to train PhD students, so I get to contribute. I've had over 100 PhD students go through my lab and finish their research to
Wow.
become independent scholars. So these are my second family, my second kids. And it's wonderful to work with them. It's also frustrating. It's also difficult. Um, Most of them would get frustrated with me at some point because they just want to be done. They're tired. PhD is 5 or 6 years. It's a long haul, and they just want to get done and get a job and have a life. And they have to do higher quality work before they can get a job, before they're really independent scholars. Is the first. And the second is for my company, Immersion Neuroscience, we're continually improving the technology to allow people to live longer, happier, and healthier lives. And that's a real calling for me. I really want, again, because we have a free app, I really want to get 1 billion people on the planet to use our app to have a way to talk about emotional health in a non-clinical way. So I'm not talking about mental health. That sounds like a medical disorder. How do we build up our emotional fitness? Again, just like we build up our physical fitness. And so that really gets me out of the bed every morning thinking about how I can improve the world by fostering better social connections, by improving our emotional lives, and thereby have a bunch of wins at scale. The nice about technology is it works at scale, where if we work in the clinic or in the laboratory, you're kind of working on one or a few people at a time.
You talk about getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising. Are there things that you have been doing your entire life? In other words, where did you get into that at first? You know, I'm so boring sometimes. I haven't eaten meat in 25 years. I love to exercise. I don't drink. I've never smoked, never tried marijuana. I'm really boring. I just I have been since I was 7 years old. My mother told me not to pick my nails, and I couldn't have any coffee because it had caffeine in that. That would stunt my growth, and I wasn't going to be able to play football when I got to high school. I mean, all these crazy things but I have always been just, over to the point of being probably obnoxious about it. But I just have always taken care of myself, and have weighed 160 pounds since I was in college. I haven't gone up and down by nearly 5 points. I mean, 5 pounds. That's it. So I bet, but almost to the point of being anal about it. But I wondered, how about you? Where did this all come for you to want to do all that you do and the difference in the lives of so many people that you make every single day? What you were like as a child? Where did all this come from that you say, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to be, and that's the difference I want to be a part of?
Well, that's a great question. I'll answer that, but I want to just reinforce what you said. So
Yeah.
for people who want to be on this journey towards thriving, what you're doing is the right thing, which is just have rules in place, right? So I've had a lot of dogs, and dogs, you got to take them out to use the yard. So I just got in the habit for the last 20 years of walking the dog for a couple miles every morning. Put a book on in my earbuds and walk. And now my dogs are gone. I just get up every morning, I make a carafe of coffee, and I walk for 2 hours. For 2 miles. And so, that's a great way to get your energy going, oxygenate your brain. So it's a rule. On my calendar, every other day I go to the gym. It's a rule. It's sitting there, right? So I'm traveling today. I got in yesterday to Austin, and I don't know, it was 4 o'clock, and I went to the gym at the hotel because I got up at 4:30 to fly here. It's on my calendar. I got to do it. Maybe it's not the best workout I ever had, but I got to work out in, right? So
Right.
I don't want to miss all that. So I think the approach you've taken, Scott, is a really wonderful one, which is just set the rules that you have to follow, and then you can break rules occasionally, right? So
Yeah, right.
Kathy knows I was in Africa a couple of weeks ago. I missed a bunch of workouts because time shifting, and I didn't have gyms, and so I did the best I could. But I was hiking and trekking and doing other stuff, so I got some exercise. But I think for listeners, they think, how do I start? It's just baby steps, right? So, but make it a priority. So, walk for 10 minutes tomorrow morning around the block. That's all. Put on some music, put on a book, whatever you like. Go with a friend, even better, and start that. So, does that make sense?
Oh, well, all the sense in the world. Totally.
So you're on the right path. For me,
right.
I'm just a super curious person, and I'm a technical person. So I like understanding the mechanisms behind things. So, Scott, I keynoted recently at the American Psychological Association. I've never had a class in psychology in my life, but a lot of my work touches, and I obviously know a lot of psychology, but because I'm interested in the brain mechanisms that produce behaviors. So I'm a
Right.
mechanism guy. Because if I know the mechanism, then I can tune it up or tune it down, right? That's really interesting. So for example, have been doing, as I mentioned, a lot of work with criminal psychopaths to really understand the biology of the dysfunctions that they have. So people with psychopathology can be quite dangerous, particularly if they have a high degree of psychopathology. They violate laws all the time. They're in jail a lot. They violate other people in bad ways. And so to understand the underlying pathology of that means potentially we can identify it early in children and we might be able to treat it, right? So I think these mechanisms, knowing these mechanisms are really important. And then on the upside, why do people thrive? So remember I was actually in San Antonio a couple of years ago, giving a talk, a psychiatry talk. I had this little cocktail party before, whatever, coffee, and I met this very famous gerontologist, a world famous guy. I'll just suppress his name. And I said, so what's the secret? And he goes, "What secret?" I'm like, "What's the secret to living a long and healthy life? Like, you've studied old people for 30 years. You must know the secret." He goes, "Oh, no. We measure lipids, we measure blood pressure." And, he was very clinically focused. He didn't, the negative side, he didn't focus on the positive. What about people who live healthily into their 90s, even hundreds? So I happen to have a house in the only blue zone in the United States. Blue zones are where people regularly live past 100. It's in Loma Linda, California. It's a blue zone because it's a company town. The company is a medical center, which is run by Seventh-day Adventists, which are a Protestant group that, like you, Scott, they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't use caffeine, they don't use alcohol, and they're in service. Many of them are service jobs, physicians, nurses, teachers, and you cannot kill them. They just won't die. So, but they also are very socially connected. And I think that's part of this, that because they're kind of their own little group, not that they don't have friends who are not in their religion, but it's a very kind of in-group religion, like a lot of religions are that are a little bit, off the mainstream. Wonderful people, kind as all get out, and they really have quite good lives. So, there's something to emulate there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about, let's say, because a lot of our listeners are going to be leaders who have this mindset and belief that stress is bad and anxiety is horrible, and that they feel like they're stuck and want to thrive more, want to connect more, and kind of have this negative mindset about their particular situation. Talk to us about neuroplasticity and how we have the ability to transform and change any aspect of our lives and beingness. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So there's a saying in neuroscience that neurons that fired together wired together. So the brain is a very energy-hungry organ, and so it wants to idle most of the time, and it sets up default pathways in the brain that manifest as behaviors. And so when people have maladaptive behaviors at work, at home, it requires a lot of metabolic resources to rewrite those pathways, essentially. So it typically takes about 90 days with feedback to change a habit. So that means that it's hard to change people. And we kind of know that if you're an adult, you've been in that world before. And yet, as you said, Kathy, we are very, very adaptable, given our genes and our motivation and other things. And so I think this is where coaching comes in. I think this is where therapy comes in. I think programs like yours and working with veterans comes in, which is having a way to get that feedback to say, oh, here's something that's not working in my life. I want to get better at this thing, but I need someone to help me take those baby steps so that I can begin to practice it. So one thing that happens because of this neurons that fire together, wire together, is fake it till you make it. So if I want to be a more empathic leader, which was one of my goals 20 years ago, because I'm a thinker, I'm not a super warm person. I mean, I think now I'm warmer. Certainly before I had kids, I wasn't. I was too driven. I just shut the hell up when people were talking to me. Even though I knew what they're going to say, I wanted to get back to my work and whatever, I just let them talk to me. And I tried to just listen and not reply. And so if it's important, you can just, again, kind of make a rule. Like, I'm not going to talk for 2 minutes while someone's talking about it. I'm not going to interrupt them. So a lot of people who are very busy, who feel like they're stressed, don't have time to hear what you're saying, and yet it's not adaptive. It's not, doesn't follow good social behaviors. And for leaders, it's essentially important because we are a herd creature, right? We're social creatures. We follow leaders. So if the leader is doing something, interrupting people, not being kind to people, yelling at people, whatever that is, the rest of the people are going to say this is the acceptable behavior. This is the norm within our community, if you will. And so I think it's got to really start at the top. Not that individuals can't choose to improve their lives and choose their relationships. As you know, Kathy, I had a book in 2017 called The Trust Factor,
Yep.
and we showed that interpersonal trust is among the strongest predictors of whether organizations are successful or not. So again, in this shortage of humans world in which we live, before our robot overlords take over, we really got to nurture those humans at work. And that means we've got to understand them, connect to them. And when trust is high within an organization, it's like a lubricant, right? There's always a little friction when you have humans together. But if I can trust you're going to do your stuff, I don't have to monitor you, you're more reliable, you do things more effectively. And those high trust organizations really flourish. And there's lots of examples. I'm just now selling books apparently to you, but you've read all my books, so you're aware.
Yes.
So we spent about 10 years studying successful and unsuccessful organizations, running experiments in those organizations, and identifying the factors that form the foundation for organizational trust. But in short, it's good behavior, it's human connection. There's more to it than that, but I'll leave it there. So I just think if you want a sustainable organization, you need sustainable humans. Sustainable humans are connected, and they have good norms of behavior.
Now I'm going to thank you for that. That was very well articulated, and I think that it gives a lot of hope and a good vision for leaders to look forward to that, to know that they have the ability, though it's not easy, and they need help in transforming, but they can, and it's a positive step, not just for the organization, but for themselves personally. Now I'm going to take you back to the days when I first met your work, your beautiful work on empathy. We've been talking a lot about empathy. So tell us what your take is on, there's a lot of conversations about empathy in the last 10 years and how it's a leader's superpower. Talk to us a little bit about your take on empathy and how empathy plays a part in trust and all the other wonderful things we want to see, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of the people we touch.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll address one of Scott's earlier questions this as well, like why do you do this? So when my lab first started getting big and really productive, I created a system called ROAR, Results Only Analytical Research. In other words, we have grants and contracts, we have deadlines. Don't whine, get the damn work done on time. I don't want to hear excuses. And I also tried to apply that to my young children. Both of them failed miserably. Because humans have good days and bad days. Humans are not machines. They are not going to be always on deadline. And we call mistakes on the negative side, we call deviations on the negative side from the norm mistakes, and we call deviations on the positive side innovations. So if you're just hitting the minimum, threshold, well, I'm never going to get innovation. And so we've really got to create an environment where people can have control of their lives, make decisions. So we started looking at positive social behaviors, and we identified, my lab was the first to identify this neurochemical oxytocin as this key indicator that someone around me is safe, seems to be reliable, motivates us to engage with them. Oxytocin acts by increasing empathy. So empathy is the ability to intuit or feel the emotional states of somebody else. So this is really important for social creatures like us, particularly what we call gregariously social creatures. Like we not only will be around strangers, we like to be around strangers. So I'm at this conference, I probably know 2 people here, and it's so much fun. I'm meeting all kinds of people, we're hanging out, we're talking, right? It's enjoyable. Chimpanzees, gorillas, they do not do this, right? They only rarely let other members of their species into their group. So we actually like it. In fact, you can put us in a tube at 30,000 feet and shake us up, and we'll still have a nice time, right? So talk to our neighbors. So oxytocin, which the human brain is much more sensitive to than any other mammal, we have more receptors for it. So we are acutely sensitive to social emotional states if we are open to it, if we are actually present. And that means, again, unlike me in my ROAR program, shutting up, having gratitude for the work people do, having not only tolerance but acceptance for the variety of the human experience. So one of the dirty secrets of neuroscience is that if we run an experiment and I measure brain activity in 20 people doing the same task, I'll get 3 or 4 different patterns of activity. Brains actually are working differently in the same task because of the deep parallelism we have in the brain. Brains are using different pathways to do the same thing. So that means that we're all weirdos, right? And so that's wonderful and weird, right? It means everyone's gonna be a little different than you, and that's not wrong, it's just different, right? Our brains develop a little bit differently based on genetics and our life history. It also means that we're amazingly interesting to each other, right? We have these wonderful gifts and shortcomings, and we need to accept the shortcomings in order to appreciate the gifts. And so empathy is this key factor. And as you suggested, Kathy, in leadership, really important. If you're doing the ROAR program like me, which is just cognitive, finish your task, don't talk to me, you're a machine. This terrible phrase, human capital, is terrible. We should never say that. You're a human being. That means you are being a human. You are happy and sad. You have good days and bad days. You have days where your spouse yells at you and your days when your spouse tells you how much they love you or your kids. And so that's going to affect how you work. So if you're a leader and you're not using empathy to acquire information about your direct reports, you're cutting off this important information flow that allows you to be a better leader. So again, listen, be present, shut up, don't be so distracted. One of my friends, an acquaintance of mine who has run a number of Fortune 50 tech companies, a guy named Jerry Stead, like Scott, he's a very healthy guy. So he would have monthly Juice with Jerry. They had a cafe in their business, and they would order juice, and you could just sign up once a month and sit with Jerry for an hour and talk about anything. He's a CEO of these big companies, and he'll sit down and have a juice with you and hang out and listen. And think how much information he got from that. Or another example is, I think one of the great CEOs is the guy who founded Costco, just lost his name now, with an S. And Jim Senegal started Costco. And Jim never took more than $100,000 in pay. Even his board said, like, you're radically underpaid for a CEO of a giant company. He goes, I got shares, I'm not worried about it. He wore that little, short sleeve white shirt with a name tag that said Jim. He would spend a ton of time in the stores, talking to the customers, talking to the employees, and people just loved him. And he created a real juggernaut of a company because he was a regular guy pulling his weight like everybody else, didn't sit in a big corner office with a limousine and a security guard. He was accessible. And to the extent that people can empathize with you and you can empathize with them, you're going to be a leader that people really want to follow.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, we have come to that time of our broadcast here that we've got to wrap things up, but I can't let you get away without first closing it up and sharing with us what the take-home should be. For everybody that is watching or listening, they've heard some incredible information. As I said before, I was a psychology major. That's what my degree's in. But I've learned more just from you as a neuroscientist than I ever learned in school. And I know Kathy feels much the same. And she has told me how knowledgeable you are about so many things and all the help you've given it, with the military. And I too am involved with the military. So just the take home, the closing thoughts that you might want to make sure that everybody that's listened today might take to their friends, to their family, to their community, to just anybody that might want to listen. What's the message that you want them to be able to share?
Well, thank you for those very kind words and spending this time with you. I think it's really simple. You need to invest in relationships to thrive. I like rules, as you know. So a simple rule that I use, I call Love Plus. I try to make sure that every interaction I have adds love to the world. In the philia sense, right? That I'm of service to others, that I'm a good friend, I'm a good partner, I'm a good person that you meet. And so if you think about trying to make sure that you're adding love to the world, that is contagious. And that person that you had a positive impact on is likely to have a positive impact on the next person they have. And we start this movement towards greater emotional fitness and greater happiness.
Well, I tell you what.
Beautiful.
It was great stuff, huh?
Thank you for being with us, Paul, and sharing your wisdom, sharing your beautiful heart, and thank you for the important work you do You've been pivotal in a lot of the work that we've created at Think Virtue. So thank you so much. And we continue to collaborate with you on the military things and initiatives and projects, and look forward to looking at the outcomes and the difference we make in the military and the veterans' lives.
And we're glad that you finally got smart enough to come to the great state of Texas, even if only for a day or two in our state capital in Austin, right?
What a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you again. Neuroscientist Dr. Paul Zak. And I tell you what, till next time, not going to get much better than this, folks, but we really appreciate you as we come together every single day. We come together with Kathy, and I'm Scott. Till next time, stay safe, be well.